everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I am gonna share with you guys, this is gonna be a little bit different from the video that I made before, and please excuse my appearance because I just got home and it's really hot out, so I'm wearing tank top, which is really nice for a change. And yeah, today I am gonna share with you guys a full dinner menu. This is the series that I want to start for my channel, since my channel caters fashion, beauty, DIYs, lifestyle. Might as well start a new series for my channel. So really excited to start this series, and I hope you guys like it also. If you do, give this video a thumbs up so that I know if you guys like this new series, so I will continue making one if you want me to. So yeah, to start off this series, I want to share with you guys my rib recipe. This is an oven-baked rib recipe that I have, and also I'm going to share with you guys some of my simple side dish. So yeah, let's get cooking. Okay, so right over here I have some pork side rib. I think this is about 2 pounds of ribs. I'm going to make my own dry rub for it, so I'll show you what it consists of. First of all, I'm gonna add up a little bit of salt, maybe around a teaspoon of it. I don't measure my ingredients because I don't like measuring it, but approximately a teaspoon of salt for the amount of meat that I have. And also I'm gonna add up half a teaspoon of ground pepper, like so. I don't want it to be too spicy because my daughter is going to eat it as well. And I have some paprika over here. I'm going to add up a teaspoon of paprika as well. And a teaspoon of garlic. You could add a little bit more of garlic if you want it more garlicky. Okay, because by the end of this I am going to use a honey garlic sauce to baste the ribs, so I want it more garlicky a little bit, so I'm gonna add maybe 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and then a little bit of chili flakes. This is optional. If you want it to get hot, you could add more, and then maybe half a teaspoon of ginger powder. And I'm also gonna add some dried parsley flakes. You could add a chopped up fresh parsley if you want, but I just have this in my pantry, so I'm going to use that. And that's the dry rub. And also I like adding a little bit of sugar to it, just to balance out the saltiness and the sweetness of the ribs. So maybe a teaspoon of sugar. And to make it a little bit liquidy, I'm gonna add up a little bit of olive oil. You don't want to put too much olive oil to it, because the ribs that I'm using is pork and there is a little bit of fat to it, so you don't want it to get too oily. So I'm just gonna add a teaspoon of olive oil just to get the rub a little bit wet, just like that. And I'm gonna add that up and mix it all together, just like that. And to bake meat that I know I'm gonna put it in the oven for too long, I like using my beat up Pyrex pan. And if you don't want to clean this up after, because if you slow cook meat in the oven, it gets burned sometimes. So if you're too lazy to clean up your pan right after, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line it with foil. After that, I'm going to arrange my meat into the pan. This rub, I kind of just played with it before, like the first time I made this. I kind of just experiment with the flavor. Simple cooking tip when you cook, when you season your meat. I like experimenting with my herbs that I'm using. The key to it is that if you doesn't know the taste of the herbs you're using, don't use it, because you don't want to end up with a dish that doesn't taste good, right? So I usually use the spices that I'm familiar with. One time I was watching this show called MasterChef, and one of the contestants is from Trinidad, and she used Scotch bonnet, those hot peppers, those tiny ones, and of course, she's very familiar with that certain peppers, and one contestant was like looking at her and, oh, she used Scotch bonnet, I will use it too. If she could use it on her dish, I could probably use it on mine too. But he didn't know that Scotch bonnet is really hot, so he ended up with a very spicy dish because he doesn't know how hot is Scotch bonnet. So yeah, that is my tip for today. If you don't know the spice that you're using, just don't use it unless you are following a recipe, because if, even though you're not familiar with the certain spices, if it's in the recipe, it's okay because you're following the recipe anyways. But yeah, if you like experimenting with flavors and stuff, start off with the spices that you are familiar with. Fridge, cover it with foil, put it in your fridge and let it sit for about an hour before cooking it. You should cover your ribs while cooking for 2 hours because you want to slow cook it. You want that tender meat by the end of the cooking time. That's why I'm covering my ribs, because if you leave it open and you cook it for 2 hours, even though in a low temperature oven, it will get burned because you're cooking it for 2 hours. Basically, you're baking it for 2 hours. Rather than if you cover it up, it's like boiling your meat inside the oven, kind of, but you're like slow cooking it, you know? So if you cover it, you will end up with a tender meat without burning it off. Preheat your oven 350 and wait for like 5 minutes and put in your ribs and cook it for at least 2 hours. By the time you put the ribs inside the oven, you have to lower down the temperature into 300 and cook your ribs for 2 hours. After 2 hours of cooking, the ribs is done and tender now. I took it out from the oven and I have Diana sauce over here. It's the gourmet rib and chicken. You could also use the honey garlic one or the original one, but it's really up to you. So today I'm gonna use this because this is the only one that I have at home. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna baste this onto the ribs. I'm gonna pour this into a bowl so it's easy for me. I'm just gonna baste this and dip my brush into the sauce and just rub it in like this. So first, what I want to do is flip all the ribs like this. Okay, so right after you flip it, you want to brush on the sauce that you have. Make sure that you covered all the meat that you have, because that's the best thing, the sauce on the ribs. I might need some more of the sauce because this is not enough. Okay, so one side of the ribs are done. I'm gonna flip it back again. And do the same thing on the other side. Now, right after you brush on all of the sauce that you have, put your oven into broil, and then broil your ribs open. Don't cover it. Broil it open for maybe about 5 minutes just to have that top portion burnt a little bit. So after 5 minutes of broiling my ribs, this is the finished look. It's really yummy. So now I am gonna make a side dish to go with it. Just a simple white rice and sauteed green beans with butter and garlic. For the beans, I just boiled it for 3 minutes and sauteed it with butter and garlic for around 3 more minutes and it's done.